Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today on this live presentation. On behalf of the Department of Nurse Education at Del Mar College, I would like to welcome you to this live presentation regarding our upcoming application deadline date at the end of the month. We are about 2 weeks out from our deadline date, which is January 31. I am Belinda Munoz. I am the advisor for the Nurse Education Department, and I've probably worked with many of you in getting you ready for this time frame of applying to our program. I have another staff member with me from the department, and she will be helping me in the background as I'm going through some information. I have Christy Bettis with me as well, and Christy you'll be hearing her chime in the background, assisting with some of the questions that you all may have. So again, we are 2 weeks away from our application deadline. And that is for 3 programs that we will be accepting applications for on this cycle. That is for our LVN program, the Licensed Vocational Nurse Certificate Program, the AAS Registered Nurse Education Degree, which is the Associate of Applied Science, the actual RN program. And then our third program, which only accepts application once a year on the January 31 cycle, is the LVN/Paramedic to RN transition program. So just to recap, LVN, RN, and LVN/Paramedic to RN transition programs will be accepting applications by the end of the month. If you feel after we go through this presentation that you are not yet ready, perhaps you're close but you don't feel that you're ready, or if you're still taking the TEAS test and waiting to see what those score results are, and you feel that you're not ready to submit your application by the end of January, keep in mind that we do have another application cycle this year, which will be August 31. Traditionally, our cycles have been January 31 and July 31. We are making a change to our July cycle this year, and we are pushing that back a month into August. So if you don't feel that you're ready for January 31, keep preparing, keep taking the TEAS test, and keep pushing along to get your application ready for August 31. Okay, having said that, we are going to share some information with you off of our website, a little bit of reminder information for some last minute questions that you might have. Give me a second to get into our website here. Hopefully that has loaded up. If not, I think somebody will give me a heads up. But what I want to do today is 3 things. I want to take you into our website and remind you where the documents are that have all of the information that you need to verify that you are eligible to apply on this application cycle. Secondly, I am going to do what we call a calculator demonstration and show you how you can calculate your GPA on your own before you submit your application, again, to be sure that you meet the admission requirements to apply to our program. And lastly, I am going to take you into NursingCAS. I have what I call a dummy account. I have a NursingCAS account in which I can go in and just show you some very basic information, a little overview of the kind of most common questions that we are getting from you at the last minute. Okay, guys, so again, I do have Christy monitoring our chat, but if you can actively listen, give me a few minutes to get through some basic information, because we are going to try to cover the most basic questions and commonly asked. Chances are, if you just hold on a bit, I will probably get to the thoughts that you have running through your mind right now. But certainly if there's something that I overlooked, you're welcome to type a question into the chat, and Christy will be helping and monitoring that. And then we will also allow for some time at the very end for question and answers. Okay, so on our website, which is delmar.edu/rn, is all of the information that you all need to be familiar with to determine if you're ready to submit your application. So delmar.edu/rn takes you directly to the Nurse Education Department site. This does look like it's the entire page, but there is a welcome from our new chair, Dr. Jennifer McGuire, on here, and some more tidbits of information down towards the bottom. So technically, we're at the middle of the page. Click on the left-hand side here on pre-nursing students. I'm going to give that a second to load on your end. And then over here on the left-hand side, on our little menu box here, is everything, is where all of the information is at that you need to refer to. I am going to go first on the admission requirements link, and I want to remind you where our guidelines are. When you're, talking with us and we keep refer to the guidelines, what we are referring to is this section here under the title admission information. And like I mentioned at the intro, we are currently accepting applications on the January 31 application cycle for all three programs: vocational nurse, registered nurse, and LVN/paramedic to RN transition. So keep in mind, you do have to have your LVN license to apply for the LVN/paramedic to RN transition or be a paramedic. Our more popular program tends to be the registered nurse program. We have a lot of applicants for the vocational nurse program as well. For a quick demonstration, I'm just going to click on the registered nurse guidelines. You can click on the top if you want to enlarge that text a bit. I'm going to scroll down to the bottom of the page and remind you of the prerequisite and co-requisites that we require. Prerequisite means absolutely have to have these 4 courses to be eligible to apply. That is English 1301, General Psychology, and Anatomy and Physiology 1 and 2. Individually, you must have a grade of a C or better in these 4 classes. Co-requisites are for 4 additional courses. That is a speech class. We will take either of the 3 state of Texas approved courses, which is 1311, 1315, or 1321, Introduction to Ethics, and 2 more science classes, Basic Chemistry and Microbiology. In total, these are the 8 courses that we require for the RN program. If you are applying for the LVN program, that program does not require chemistry or microbiology. So a quick recap, guys. Again, we require, in order to be eligible to apply to our program, a grade of C or better in each class. When averaged together, we are looking at what we refer to as a program GPA. That is a GPA of these 8 courses, or as many of them as you have, and that GPA must come out to a 2.5 or higher. After I point out some information here, I will do a calculator demonstration and show you how you can determine if you have that. So the cool thing about our program is that we are not looking at your entire college GPA. We are looking at what we call a program GPA, must be 2.5 or higher. Absolutely have to have these 4 classes. You will have a stronger application if you have all 8, obviously, but you can apply with 5 of the 8, 6, 7, or all 8 of them. Okay. Now I'm going to flash through here to about page 4, page 5, possibly 5 into page 6. Okay. Where we itemize bonus points. We have 3 sources of bonus points that you are eligible for. One of them is based on how you performed on your TEAS test. If your total score is in either one of these 2 ranges, you would be eligible for either an additional 2 bonus points or 4 bonus points. A second category of bonus points is what we call direct patient care points. And this is all itemized here. Between these 3 bullet points, you could be eligible for either 2, 3, or 4 bonus points. We no longer require the CMA or CNA certification. However, if you have completed the coursework, or if you are certified with work experience, depending on where you're at with that, you could be eligible from anywhere, again, from 2 to 4 bonus points. Lastly, we have what we refer to as the pathway points. These are the additional courses off of your, what I refer to as your academic degree plan, right? Your Associate of Arts degree plan. Outside of the 8 courses that we require to apply to the program, if you have completed any other courses on the AA degree plan with a grade of a C or better, you are then eligible for those bonus points as well. And those 4 courses are Pathophysiology, Health Professions 2201, Lifespan Growth and Development, Statistics, Math 1342, and Nutrition. Those 4 classes are currently worth 2 bonus points if you have a C or better. And down here where it reads an additional 7 bonus points may be earned, that's going to pretty much be the 2 approved history courses on your academic degree plan, 1301 and 1302, American and State Government, English 1302, Sociology, and I'm missing one class there possibly. So any other class off of your academic degree plan that is not one of these that's worth the 2 bonus points would then be worth 1 bonus point. Again, on the calculator demonstration, I'm going to show you how you pull all of that together. Back up here, probably about page 2 or so, is where we itemize the vaccinations that we require. There are certain vaccinations that we require when you apply to the program. There are certain vaccinations that we require if you are admitted into the program. So what you want to do is pay particular attention to the first page that reads requirements prior to application until you meet the section that begins requirements after acceptance. So you don't have to meet the requirements after acceptance unless you're admitted into the program. And then of course, when we bring you on for orientation, we will remind you of what it is that you have to have by the first day of the program. Okay, guys, from here, I think that was all I wanted to cover on the RN document. I'm going to go back to our menu box here on the left-hand side and click on ATITs. Another reminder is that we do have the TEAS guidance document. If you scroll down a bit here in black bold letters, you do see ATITs guidance document. About the only thing that I want to touch up here for the sake of time, and I'm going to take you down into page 5, is the second most commonly asked question that we receive is, how do I know if I met the TEAS test score requirements? Remember that we are looking for 3 scores: the overall score, officially called the academic preparedness level, the reading section, and the science section. So again, overall, reading and science. When you print your score report off of your ATITs account, make sure that you are printing the report that shows us your scores for all of these 3 sections. And this is the minimum benchmark that we require per section. So if you take the exam and if you happen to come up short on one of these sections, let me just say reading, if you came in at 51%, that means that you would have to take the test again. So being that we are 2 weeks out from the application deadline date, if you feel that you have not met that requirement, you can contact our office and speak with Melody, and she can let you know. I believe we do still have some slots available to take the TEAS test again next week. But again, you can, that's the last I heard yesterday, you would want to call into our office and speak with Melody and see how our schedule is looking as of today for next week. Okay, guys, so sorry, let me go back. And on the applying to the nursing program link, if you scroll down a bit, down in here, you're going to see a section where we talk about NursingCAS, and we're going to talk about NursingCAS in a little bit more detail. But remember that all of these available resources are printed here on our website, taking you directly to our help center instructions. All of that information is here, support guides, and remember that's under the applying to the nursing program link. Okay, next thing I'm going to do, I think that covers our website for now. Next thing I want to do, let me give this a second. Hopefully that will load up correctly without freezing or anything. Okay, so this is what we refer to as our GPA calculator. It is an Excel spreadsheet. Please email me if you have not yet asked me for this. On the subject line, and maybe Christy or one of the staff people out there can put my email address in the chat box, but on the subject line, when you email me asking me for this calculator, please put on the subject line calculator or GPA calculator, because we are at the height of our advising and registration for classes that begin next week. And I'm also juggling this application deadline date. So I do want to get that to you in a timely manner. So if I see on the subject line anything about a calculator or GPA calculator, I will answer that immediately and attach to this to it. It is an Excel file, so you do have to have Microsoft Office on your computer. So what I did for the sake of time is I preloaded this with some grades. This is no particular student. These are just grades that I pulled out of the air. And I went through and just, inputted some grades here. Remember, our requirements in the 8 classes that we require for LVN, and if you're applying for the RN program. If you're applying for the LVN program, you can click on the tab on the bottom, and it's essentially the same thing without the 2 other classes. Okay, so I'm going to click back on the RN tab and kind of go with these grades here. Individually, remember that we require a C or better, right? So on the surface, it looks like this student would be eligible to apply. But when you look over here at the program GPA column, our second requirement is that you have to have a 2.5 GPA or higher. So in this scenario, this student would not be eligible to apply. They would have to go back because they are so far along in having completed the courses that we require. They are still missing one more. Obviously, they could not get a C in microbiology. But at this point, even if they went in and got a B in micro, they would still be under a 2.5. At that point is when you would determine which of these classes you would want to repeat. And let's say you decided to repeat speech. And let's say you improved your speech grade from a C to an A, and you earned a B in micro. At this point, this would make you eligible because now you're above a 2.5 GPA. Okay. Those are the kinds of things that I can advise you in an advising session. I highly recommend that you get this calculator from me if you don't have it already. Plug your grades in, especially now that fall grades are posted. Run your grades through the calculator. Be certain that you are eligible to apply. And then just go through here and, plug your grades in and let's see how your GPA looks. Remember, we have a lot of students that at this point completed chemistry in the fall and are wanting to complete microbiology in the spring. That is allowed because remember, micro is a co-requisite. So plug in your grades. Individually, a C or better, must be a 2.5 or higher. I like to show you that you can apply with a C or 2. You just can't have too many where it's going to bring that GPA under a 2.5 to meet our program requirements. Now, where do bonus points go? So once this calculation is done, we are going to grab these this number here. In this scenario, it's 22.167. And let's say that this particular application had a total of 10 bonus points, regardless of where they came from. If they were TEAS points, direct patient care, or pathway points. All of that combined, let's say this student had 10 bonus points. That would make this application's final number 32.167. That would be the number that the application would be ranked on. And remember that we rank applications from highest to lowest. And then that is what the admissions committee will be looking at as they are building the class for the next semester. I don't believe I mentioned it earlier, but the January 31 deadline date is for the incoming class for next fall, beginning August of 2022. Christy and I, actively help you at this point in getting you ready and helping you through the application process. But she and I do not sit on the actual admissions committee. The committee is made up of nurse education faculty. Okay, so I wanted to share this with you to share how it is that we calculate your GPA and your points. And please, again, determine if you are eligible, because the very first step in determining your eligibility is, this is the very first thing that Christy will do, is she will run a GPA calculation. And even if you pass the TEAS test, if that GPA is under a 2.5, that would make you, ineligible to apply, or vice versa. If you meet the GPA requirements, but you don't meet the benchmarks that we require on the TEAS exam, that would also make you ineligible to apply. The TEAS score does not affect ranking at all. That's strictly off of the GPA calculation, but it is another requirement that we are looking at to make sure that you met the benchmark requirements on the TEAS. Okay, the last thing that I want to do here is take you into a NursingCAS account. Like I said, this is simply just for role playing. So if you have not yet started with creating your account, the web address is nursingcas.org. The first thing that you would do is click over here on this red button titled Apply Now, and give that a second to load. And remember that you are applying for fall 2022. So here in the middle page where we go under the select tab, we are going to select fall 2022 and again hit apply. It is now going to direct me to log in. And give it a second, because I think you guys are a few seconds behind us, and hopefully this didn't freeze. Okay, guys, and I've probably already answered some preliminary questions, but at this point, if you have not already started your application, what you want to do is click here on the tab titled Add Program, and simply type in DEL for Del Mar, and then you are going to see the 3 programs that we currently have applications open for. Okay. Now, what I want to do is just give you a quick overview of what information goes where. Personal information, pretty straightforward. That's going to be your contact information. Supporting information. Here at Del Mar College, we do not take any information off of this particular section. Achievements, experiences, licensure, and certifications, of course, all of that is great, but it is not anything that we use to consider for admissions to our program. We do not take recommendation letters, any of that. So it's going to give you the same options for all 3 sections. You will simply click on I am not adding any achievements, I am not adding any experiences, I am not adding any licensure and certifications for all 3. Okay, so
this is Christy really quickly.
Yes, ma'am.
That section, license and certifications, that does apply for our paramedic and RN, our LVN and paramedic to RN. We do want them to complete this section in addition to uploading their information in the document section. So for this section only applies for LVNs and paramedics who have their current licensure.
Okay, so going back to the 4 tiles here. On academic history, and hold on, let me jump over to the last section actually, since I just said that you don't upload anything here, like Christy said, unless you're a current LVN or paramedic applying for the transition program. Everything that you have to upload, guys, is going to go into this section. So I'm going kind of backwards here, okay? Under program materials is where you are going to upload the required documents, such as your vaccination records, a copy of your CNA or CMA license, a supporting letter from a former employer that can attest to the fact that you've served in that role for at least a year, so that you can get those bonus points, and your ATI T score. Okay, there are plenty of slots here. Don't panic if you don't fill them all. It's just that we give you plenty of room. Score report, like you probably would only need one for your T's exam. So again, this is where you're going to upload your T's test scores, your vaccination records, and your CNA, CMA certification, and a supporting letter if you have at least a year of work experience. All of that information is uploaded in this section. Okay. Now, probably the most questions that we receive is about the academic history section. So in this section, you all have to list every college and university attended, and then you will also have to take, hopefully you have a copy of your own transcript from every school you've attended, and you will have to list every class that you have taken, every semester that you were enrolled at that particular school. Okay, every college, every university attended, every class, even if you were a major other than anything related to healthcare, even if you were a business major or education major, you have to list absolutely every class. There are students that have not had their application reviewed because they don't fill this section completely and or correctly. And we've had students that will only input the 8 classes that we require for RN or 6 for LVN. So remember, even if you took a class and you dropped it for grade, you would put a W. So again, this section is probably, like I said, one of the more popular sections that we get questions about. If you click on there, and I purposely did not click on this, I have reviewed this information tab because I didn't know if I did, if it wouldn't let me go back. But you're going to see some information here for the Applicant Help Center. You're also going to see a hyperlink here that gives you information on how to send official transcripts. Okay, regarding your transcripts, keep in mind that NursingCAS is a separate third-party application service that our department uses. This is completely independent from Del Mar College. So if you are a current Del Mar student and you have already submitted transcripts from every college and university that you've attended to the Del Mar Registrar's Office, you also have to submit a transcript from every college and university attended directly to NursingCAS. Christy will allow a few extra days beyond the January 31 application deadline for those transcripts to arrive. But you had to have had requested those before January 31. So, and there have been instances where sometimes there was a particular school that for whatever reason was just a little delayed in getting transcripts out, and transcripts arrived even later than the extra allotted time that Christy allowed. Please work with Christy on that. Please reach out to her and let her know if that is a situation that you are encountering, because she can work with you if that's the issue. I'm just going to make up a date. Let's say you ordered your transcripts on January 5th, and by February 6th, they still haven't arrived at NursingCAS, and you have some kind of a confirmation sheet that shows that you ordered that transcript before the January 31 application deadline date. Christy can work with those kinds of instances. So don't just disappear and then feel like, well, I didn't know what to do. Please reach out to us and we will let you know if it's a situation that we can work with. Okay. Like I said, I just wanted to cover in general what it is that we are looking for here. Christy, how is it looking on the chat side, or is there anything else that you want me to show here as far as questions coming in?
Actually, um, we've had a few questions, and what's really nice is we have some students who are also in the chat answering questions for the other students in the chat, and so far they've done quite well. Um, as far as like with what Belinda is going through right now, um, it's very important you get in as early as possible and understand the procedures for getting transcripts sent from your colleges and your universities to NursingCAS. Um, there's a service called Parchment that is used. Del Mar College now uses Parchment. It is an electronic service. So if you think you've requested your transcript with Parchment from Del Mar and it's been a week and you haven't gotten an email from NursingCAS saying that transcript's there, you need to go in and look to make sure that you've requested it correctly. We need to students need to make sure that is extremely important. If you do not request the transcripts and the transcripts do not show up at NursingCAS, you are automatically denied. You can't go back, request them later. You can't ask us to review any things later. Um, we have hundreds of applications and we're not going to make exceptions when we have so many students that do everything correctly. Where Belinda is now is absolutely the best place to be in the help center because it discusses filling out your NursingCAS application. It has links to all 4 sections. There are step-by-step instructions in each of the sections. Then, so take your time and go through here. Also note, I'm not sure if Belinda mentioned this, is there is a professional transcript entry service that NursingCAS offers. It is for another fee. They do not start doing that transcript entry until your transcripts are there. If your transcripts are not there at the time that you are submitting your application on January 31st, you will not have your transcript entry entered in time. Students cannot use that as an excuse for not having everything entered. Um, so with like you would need to submit your application at least probably a week in advance. So that would mean that you probably need to by next week and get those transcripts to NursingCAS. Um, Waiting at the very last minute and click paying for transcript entry. You also have to know paying for transcript entry does not mean that that NursingCAS is going to do the legwork in getting your transcripts from your colleges sent to NursingCAS. The only thing that you're paying for is for them to type in the transcript data in your transcript entry section. That's it. Um, so, yes, sending official transcripts to nursing in your application. Yes, go through all of these. Please do not call our office, email our office. We cannot help you with these kinds of questions. Um, all of the instructions are in NursingCAS. The only last minute questions that we can, I mean, some of the last minute questions we can answer, I guess, are if you're uncertain if you think you've got all of the correct courses, if you're having things transferred in. Also know that we do our best to review courses that you will be transferring to Del Mar if they have not officially been transferred into the Del Mar record and we find out a course that we thought potentially met a requirement actually won't be transferred in. Unfortunately, you wouldn't be able to start a program. Students are the ones that are responsible to make sure any coursework meets the requirements. And if Del Mar says that your A&P does not meet our requirement, then you will have to, unfortunately, you would have to take a correct course over again. I believe she's touched pretty much on all of the things where most important things. We did have a question someone had about um, immunizations. All of our immunizations are in that admissions document. Print those pages out. Get your get your immunizations out. Read what the requirement is. Go in and look. Make sure that you can find 2 MMRs. Check those off. Go in under hepatitis B. Make sure that you can check off 3 hepatitis Bs, even if you had one of them in 1991 and you had one in 2010. You have to have the third one to make sure your immunity is boosted. It's okay if they are all spread out. We have to have those 3. Varicella, which is the chickenpox vaccine. If you did have chickenpox as a child, also in our admissions document, there is a link in there to a state form that you can print out and you can use it and have a parent or a um, guardian if you were raised by a grandparent or an aunt or uncle or your family physician. Those are the only people that can fill out that form. You cannot fill out a form based on your memory of having chickenpox as a child. There are some very specific requirements for that. If you don't have your immunizations, and there is also information in our admissions document about serological testing. They're called titer tests. That's when you ask your doctor to give you blood tests so they can check to see what immunity you have in all of our requirements, and then you'll know what immunizations you have to have. All of that should be done now. Can't wait until you're accepted a couple months down the road because there may not be time. There is a new hepatitis B series out. It does take a month. However, it is considerably more experienced than the 3 vaccines that you can get at the health department. Um, so make sure you're ready for nursing school, and that's why we have the part about requirements before you apply. You really need to make sure you meet all the core requirements before you apply, or that if you don't have a vaccine, write a note and upload it that says, I have I've had my first hepatitis B vaccine on this date. I'm scheduled for my next one on this date and my last one on this date. So we know you understand those requirements. Immunizations is excruciatingly important because you can't go to clinical sites without them. We did have a student ask about COVID vaccines. COVID vaccines are not a requirement of Del Mar College at this time. You do not have to have them to apply to the program. If you are accepted to the program and at the time we are working with our private clinical partners, hospitals, long-term care facilities, if they turn around and have a requirement that every student that comes on their facility has to have the COVID vaccines, that is when we pass the requirement on to the students. Please know it is not a Del Mar College requirement, but students can't get through nursing school without doing clinicals at our private clinical partners. We have no information right now for what potentially could be the requirements for the fall semester or later. So it may or may not be something that gets brought up if you're accepted to the program, but just know it is not Del Mar College requiring COVID vaccines. So you do not have to have them now if you do not care to get them. You do not need them to get to the program, get into the program right now. I know Belinda keeps going in and clicking on all the different help center things in NursingCAS. So at this point, these help center areas are going to be your best friends. And
And
then what?
remember, it's up here. Excuse me, Christy. Remember, it's up here next to your name on this little drop down arrow, and it's the first option there, Help Center. Before I forget to mention this, guys, and I think I highlighted it off the guidelines here. The admission class selection, and I think I touched on this briefly earlier. Remember that students are ranked for admission from highest to lowest based on total admission points. So that was the demonstration I did there, which is the GPA calculator of your program GPA points plus all of your additional bonus points. A minimum of 95% of each new admission class is built for the RN students. 5% of the seats are reserved for vocational nurse, for the BN applicants. Students are notified of admission decisions via email approximately 8 weeks after each deadline. So that with the ending of January being the deadline, that puts us at about the end of March. Email notifications are sent to the email address on file with NursingCAS. Please remember that point. There have been times that admission decisions have gone out and the decisions have been out for several days, up to a week, and students are missing their notification because you kind of revert back to the train of thought that I've been looking at my Del Mar email address. So remember that it goes to the email address that you listed on your NursingCAS account. So please don't miss your chance of starting the program by missing your notification that you were admitted and then you didn't respond in time because you didn't keep an eye out on the email address that you listed on your account. Okay, so I did want to touch base on that. So to recap, remember guys, go onto our website, go into the nursing department website. Everything that you need to know is listed here, either under the admission requirements link, under the admission information tab is where you're going to find the guidelines for each individual program. LVN and RN accept applications twice a year, January 31, and our new deadline that will change from July 31 to August 31. The LVN/paramedic to RN transition program only accepts applications once a year on the January 31 cycle. Please double check your ATIT scores. Again, go into the ATITs link on our website, click on the guidance document. If you need me to email you the GPA calculator, if you haven't already received that from me at some point, please reach out to me. I am pretty busy, with advising and registration right now for classes that begin next week, but put in your subject line calculator, GPA calculator or something, and that will alert me to open that email and send that to you directly or pretty quickly. And then remember, off of your NursingCAS account, please refer to the help center, and they have, a helpline that you can call as well. Keep in mind that we are only trying to be fair to all applicants, and so I, politely remind students, what I help one applicant with, I should help every applicant with. And we just don't have that kind of time with the volume of applications that we receive. And that's why I cannot sit down with you and go through page by page of every part of your application, because we simply don't have that kind of time to devote to every applicant, in all fairness to all of our applicants. So, I did want to list that out there. It's not that we're not trying to provide that customer service. That's why we want to come on, share with you the most general information that we can, because we do want to be forthcoming and open with our process and share that as much as we can. But we are also trying to be fair to all applicants, in that regard. So, Christy, are there any other questions?
Yes. Just quickly about how long the nursing program is. For if you get accepted under register nursing, it is 4 semesters. It is fall, spring, or spring, fall. Do not anticipate that there will be any nursing courses that you can take in the summer. Another question is, but if you're applying for the LVN program, it is 3 semesters, so it'd be fall, spring, or spring, fall, spring. Same thing, don't anticipate coming in the summers. Now for our LVN paramedic to RN program, it is 3 semesters and they are continuous. They are fall, spring, and summer. So you will graduate, our bridge students will graduate in 1 calendar year. Um, one other question we have is about um, if someone had took it to, if someone has taken A&P years ago, they do not expire. Your grades do not expire. Any courses that you take, prerequisites, co-requisites, once you have passed them, those grades are good. Um, if you did not do so well in one of them, or it has been 15 years ago, or and you think you need a refresher, if you happen to want, or if you have made a C in A&P1 or A&P2 and you wish to retake it, please note that that is at your own risk. If you retake a class and the new grade is not a C or better, or if you have gone from a B down to a C, and that now kicks you out of the 2.5 GPA, we take the most recent grades, not the highest. So um, if you have a really good GPA and you have all of the courses done, you do not have to retake any of them, and we will use those to calculate your GPA. The only other thing is, let's see, someone asked about the CMA certificate. I believe Ms. Munoz went through that. That is not listed in the certification licensure section because you're only using that for bonus points. It's not a program requirement. So that is why you have to upload everything in documents. We don't go through and we don't look at employer information. We will not make phone calls to find if you have actually been employed there. And we won't look up to see if you actually are a CNA or a CMA. You need to provide uh, documents to us in the document sections to prove all of that up for your points. I think that was it that I can see on the Facebook questions. Over on YouTube questions, I do see we have one. The gentleman asked about um, program is awarding 2 bonus points for being a paramedic with 1 year work experience. Actually, first of all, for a paramedic, you would apply under our LVN paramedic to RN program. And because paramedic is a requirement of that program, you do not get bonus points for being a paramedic because that is a requirement for you even to do the bridge program. And that would be a 3 semester program versus coming in as a level 1 under an RN. So I hope I answered that question for that student. I don't see any others. So Belinda, you can take it from here and close this out. Thank you, everybody.
Great questions, everyone. One of the final thoughts that I want to leave you with is, because this has happened as well, is remember that being in Texas, we are in the central time zone. NursingCAS application in our time zone will close on January 31, which is a Monday. It is going to close at 10:59 p.m., which is technically 11:59 p.m. in the Eastern zone. Okay, the company, I think Christy says, is in Vermont. The NursingCAS, like physically located in Vermont. So that has stumbled some students sometime where they're working at the last minute and then they say, wait a minute, it closed and it was 11 o'clock. Well, that's because it's in the Eastern time zone. So to make the deadline, if for whatever reason you still have to be in NursingCAS on the last day, keep in mind that 10:59 p.m. Texas time is when the application will shut down. It is an online application, third-party service that we use. So try to be earlier than that. Try not to wait till the last minute. You never know what can happen, you know, with technology, Wi-Fi being down at home or wherever you're working on your application. So thank you for joining us. These are great questions. We're, you know, hopefully, I mean, we're glad to be able to help you, and hopefully you guys got some good quality information out of this presentation. Remember, y'all can go back and play this. It's going to live on our Facebook page, on Del Mar College's Facebook page, and the YouTube page as well. So again, on behalf of the Department of Nurse Education here at Del Mar College, Dr. McGuad, Dr. Earwood, our administrators, faculty, staff, the entire nurse education family, we thank you for joining us. Work on getting those applications in. Reach out to me if you have very general questions, and I'll see how I can help you. If not, again, we'll refer you to the helpline with the NursingCAS company. But again, I always say, this is the fun part of my job when you guys are at this point of submitting your applications. So get those applications into us, and we look forward to receiving and reviewing those applications. Thank you and have a great day.